good manager is not simply to be a good strategist or to be a good moneymaker. We expect our leaders, rightfully so, to have the highest ethical standards. And by his own admission, Mr. Hurd failed in that regard. He failed in a very significant way. I mean, we're talking about fudging expense reports and other financial data, and somebody who's making low five figures at the company would have been fired quickly for such an indiscretion.
Hang on. I can understand the sexual harassment issue would have been an extremely serious one. But by all accounts, and I don't want to get into too much the nitty-gritty, he didn't do his own expense accounts. He never claimed that there was an intimate relationship. He did nothing improper. Look, Bruce, surely adults of the world can say he messed up, but he shouldn't have to go.
Well, now, here's the ironic thing about this whole sad affair, Richard. If he had been forthright, if he had come to the public and said, you know what, I just want you to know I made a mistake, I made a series of mistakes, it was very poor judgment, and I intend to make reparations. If he had done that, he might have held on to his job. I mean, one of the wonderful things about human beings is that we have a great capacity for forgiveness. But what we cannot tolerate, and I think it's right that this is so, we can't tolerate being deceived. And that's what happened in this case. That's exactly what happened in this case.
OK, so Hewlett-Packard, and this has to be seen in the totality, Hewlett-Packard had several ethics scandals, notably, of course, the bugging of journalists and the board members. So perhaps that's why the board believes it has to be so strict on it. But they have shot themselves in the foot, Bruce.
No, well, I mean, but here's the thing. Because of these indiscretions, as you mentioned at the top of the hour, the stock price fell considerably. And so the take-home message is that ultimately this is not a PR debacle. This is, or even a financial debacle. It's an ethical problem, and it's a PR problem and a financial problem because of the ethical issues at stake. I think that's really important to remember, that if companies really want to do well in the long run financially, ethics have to occupy front and center in all that the company does, starting at the top. This is a perfect illustration of what happened. You don't have that.
All right, you're putting me in the position of trying to sort of be Mr. You know, as if morality has gone out the window. But I'm going to go for it anyway with you, Ruth. The reality is that sometimes we're not all perfect. It's a heavy price to pay in this regard.
No one is perfect, but the thing is, Richard, we expect more of our leaders. We expect more of someone making $10, $20 million a year. We expect that person, we expect him or her to hold the highest ethical standards, to set the standard of the company, not to be just like everybody else. And yes, we all make mistakes. And as I said before, one of the great things about being human is that we have the ability and the capacity to forgive other people's mistakes. But here's someone who didn't even come forward. It had to be discovered from an internal investigation when it happened. And I'm suggesting in the future for a CEO to come forward first, to be the first person to say, I made a mistake. Imagine what might have happened in this case.
Bruce,
that take home